Hey, everybody, welcome to Selling the Dream podcast where we talk about sales, we talk about motivation, we talk about success, we talk about all kinds of stuff on this show. I'm Ken Jordan, and my co-host is Joe Iredell. What's up, Joe?
Yeah, Kenny. What's up, brother?
We're flipping the script today a little bit. We're going to turn the tables. Normally we ask all the questions. Today we're going to invite our friend Josh Irons in. He's going to ask all the questions, and we know the rules, right? You're not allowed to lie, right? You got to be sincere, and you can't take yourself too seriously. So let's see if he can draw out some embarrassing stuff in our conversations here. We're going to call it story time.
I'm an open book.
Same here. I'm going to need you to carry me today, Joe. I'm beat, man. I'm tired.
Yeah. How come?
There we go. I thought you weren't going to ask me why, but
I'm a good setup guy, bro. Come on.
So I actually just got done a long run. There's two kinds of people in this world: people that sign up for a marathon so that they can say they signed up for a marathon, and people who finish a marathon. And at this moment, I am person number one, and I'm fighting to get to person number two. My marathon's on November 20th. And,
you got plenty of time.
Today was a setback, man. Today was hard. I don't know what it was. Today was hard.
All you got to do is run. How hard is that?
How hard could it be?
That's not a sport. That's practice.
So
how far did you get today?
11 and a half today.
And how far is a marathon?
26.2.
And you have a month, you're fine.
Get some Heelys, dude. Wear some Heelys. Just run a little bit, glide a little bit. You're good. You're like halfway there. At least you get 22 miles, dude. You'll do 22 miles on Heelys. If you did 11 today.
Are they legal?
I don't know. You probably set a record, though.
I mean, by the sound of it, maybe you should have just done a 5K.
I've done 5Ks. I did a half. I really want to do the full. It takes a lot of, It's
like running a marathon. It's like running a marathon, dude.
Yeah, man, it's tough.
Bro, that's why I don't get people that do that stuff, dude. That's why they domesticated horses and got cars. There's a better way, bro. There's a better way to go that many miles.
You know the deal. It's like people who climb Mount Everest. There is nothing at the top of Mount Everest. Nothing. There's nothing there. Well, why do these people risk their lives to do it?
My theory is you watch that on TV, right? You don't need to go.
The way that CGI is these days, you don't have to do any of that stuff, dude.
Just get into the meta marathons?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Or you could just hop in at the end and take a picture of yourself and put it on Instagram.
You could do that.
But what good is that? It's not about the marathon, Joe. It's the person you become in preparation for the challenge. You know this.
Wait, is that the person that asks other people to ask them loaded questions so they can tell you all about their marathon running? Are you that guy? That's funny.
How do you know?
I coffee with a CrossFit guy this morning. All he wanted to tell me was about CrossFit. I'm like, all right, man, that's cool, dude. You lift up a bunch of tires and shit. All right, cool, man.
How do you know if someone signed up for a marathon? Because they'll tell you.
Exactly.
Over and over again.
Yep. That is
so
true.
Anyway, I'm going to introduce Josh. Josh is going to be our host today. He's going to ask all the questions, and we promise we will we'll answer them honestly and have some fun. So, Josh, what's up, man?
Nothing, guys. Thanks for having me on, and I'm gonna try my hardest to embarrass both of you. So I just want to know origin stories. Let's start with an origin story. Your career, how you started. It all started in Upper Darby, right, Ken?
So you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up in Upper Darby. 3 brothers, single mom. We were all a year apart. If one of us had a bad idea, the other 3 asked what time we were going to do it, and we were nuts. We were a pack of wild idiots, and God bless my mom for keeping us out of trouble as best she could. But yeah, grew up in Upper Darby, graduated in '96, and went on to Penn State. Penn State begrudgingly accepted my application for school. I was an okay student, but I wasn't. What do they call that? Magna cum laude. That wasn't me.
I don't think you can spell that, bro.
So
I think you had to hit a quota.
Yeah.
So many Upper Darby
they
kids.
Apparently they have a chubby white quota. I fit the mold. So
that's it, dude.
Anyway, they made me take 30 hours of English and 30 hours of math the summer before freshman year in order to let me in. So I must have somehow. I had to fit some model.
Haven't you been speaking English your whole life?
It was English as a first language.
So I waited, of course, till the last 2 weeks of the year. You know what I mean? Kind of like my marathon training, and then I jumped in. I did my 30 hours. They accepted me, and my college career began. And when I went up to main campus, I guess the second year, when we went up to University Park, that's when I met Joe. And we graduated in 2000, and my son was born in 2000. And
but you got to tell them about the hustle, KJ.
The hustle.
Our jobs up. Our Kenny got me a job, a part-time job while I was up there because we were all broke, selling. We sold children's books and coffee to people all across the country over the telephone. We were telemarketing.
Person-to-person marketing.
Dude, it was the greatest sales training I've ever received in my life because you needed to, you would push a button and someone would be live on the other line, on the other end of the phone, and you had about 30 seconds to just get this guy to buy coffee or a children's book. And it was,
they said no to the coffee. You said, "Can I interest you in a children's book?"
It was
but it's true. It's true. It was a crazy. It was a great job. I mean, I was really barely mediocre at it. And not that Joe needs to have his ego stroked, but this dude was an absolute master on the phone.
They paid me in coffee, so I was pretty hyped up every day. So,
guy Gabe was our manager. You remember?
Yeah.
Gabe. Yep. And it felt like every minute Joe was putting his hand up and they would put another sale on the board. And I would just look over like, damn, what the hell is this motherfucker doing? Like, how's he doing it? It's hard. It's difficult. But you know what? That experience really carried over later on to prove to be insanely valuable.
So at this point,
because when we graduated, what's that?
Let's stop for a second. And then let's catch Joe up from his origin to Penn State and selling coffee and children's books.
Go ahead,
so
bro.
I wasn't much of a student myself. I was more of an athlete. So I went to Cardinal O'Hara, the Lions. So I went from Lions to another Lions, and met KJ, and we just started hustling, like I said, and we actually. So it was interesting too because our living arrangements were pretty nuts. We had some mutual friends that liked to party constantly, so that was fun. We got some crazy stories that maybe aren't necessarily the best to share, but
I'll tell my 21st birthday story.
Yeah, go ahead, you lay that one out there, dude. That's
so
funny.
So it's not that funny, but we obviously the night of your 21st birthday, you get all banged up, you go out, right? So we go out midnight, April 28th, 1999. I think we went to I think the G-Man, the saloon. And then we headed over to Zeno's. And for those of you, I don't know if Zeno's is still there. I know the G-Man's long gone. We went over to Zeno's, and it was a basement bar. So you get down the steps to get in. And the bouncer, so I'm with all my friends. They're all in front of me. They all go in. And the bouncer took one look at me. And in his summation, I was not capable, I guess, of enjoying the rest of the night without hurting myself. So he decided he's not going to let me in. So I said, why not? And he said, because you're too intoxicated. And I said, I beg to differ. And I felt the best way for me to prove that I wasn't too drunk was to punch the window out. I thought that was like, look, would I punch a window out if I was not drunk? So next thing you know, I got bouncer on top of me. Cops are on the way. It was a mess. The ambulance comes. My good friend Chris Hertel, God bless him, was like, deny the ambulance, because he's smart. He knows how much money that shit would cost a college kid who doesn't have, really good insurance. So I deny the ambulance. I wrap my hand up and go home. Well, unbeknownst to me, I lose my driver's license that night. Shocker, right? I can't find it the next day. Everybody wants to go out. I look around. I can't find my driver's license anywhere, right? So now I got to go to Center County DMV and get a new driver's license, get a new picture taken. Now you can imagine how hungover I was driving out to Center County DMV. My hair was a mess. My face was all puffy. I mean, I was a mess. And that was my picture for the next 4 years on my driver's license, right?
It's only gotten worse too.
It's only gotten worse. Every 4 years, my license gets worse. So Joe, so somehow, Joe comes across my driver's license.
I don't remember exactly how I got it, but I was a bouncer at one of those bars. Like I was a bouncer at the Rathskeller. So I don't know if somebody had it or whatever, but I came in possession of Kenny's ID. At the time, I wasn't 21. I'm a lot younger and better looking than Kenny. So and I had a different ID. But so for the next couple of nights, I would go out and I would tell everybody that I'm Kenny Jordan. And it pretty much gave me the license to do whatever I wanted and stay college, because if I got caught, then he would get in trouble. So there was some pretty...
And I mean, if you remember back then, if it swiped, it was good. They didn't they looked at the picture, but all they cared about was, did it swipe, And if it swiped, you're good,
Yeah.
Yeah. So this little prick ran around sullying my name all over State College. So we graduate from Penn State, and my son's about to be born, and I need a job in the worst way. I can't just I can't waste any time.
So So were you married?
No, so weren't married yet. Son's on the way. I still had a semester left of school. I'll be honest. I mean, I started, so I had to get a job before I even finished school. I came back and I finished at Penn State Delco. Joe calls me up and says, I got this job. He graduated a semester before me. I got this job at Yellow Book USA. I said, what kind of job is it? He's like, we're selling Yellow Page ads. I'm like, what? Yellow Page ads? Who the hell wants to sell Yellow Page ads? He's like, no, you don't understand. We get a $40,000 base salary plus commission, and I'm selling the shit out of it. And I'm like, okay, I'll listen. So he tells me all about it. I'm like, you know what? That's the job I want. So I interview with the same headhunter. Meredith was her name. Do you remember her?
Wow, yeah.
Meredith gets me the interview. We're walking down the driveway at Ponds Edge Drive. I'm walking with Michael
Steffen,
and telling him, like, hey, I really want this job, but I haven't graduated from college yet. And he's like, why are you even here? I said, because I need this job. I want this job. So I tell him. So I go to Chris Hollbach, and I interview with him and told him the same thing. And he said, is your dad around? It was a weird question to ask. I said, yeah, I mean, he's around. I think he lived in Virginia at the time. And he goes, because if you don't finish school, if I hire you and you don't finish school, I'm gonna kick your ass if your dad doesn't. And I was like, all right, I could dig that. I appreciate that. So I went to my class. All my professors said, look, I got to start working. My son was just born. I need a job. So it was September, October of that year. And I started working at Yellow Book full time while having like 12 credits left, or I think it was 12 credits left at Penn State. And we're going through training, which was up in King of Prussia. And it's intense training. They put you in an apartment for 2 weeks. And for 2 weeks, you're studying. And, of course, you're going out and, I guess, having fun. But not me, of course. I had to study for my finals at the same time that I was studying for this product, doing this product training. And every day we'd go into these classrooms and we would learn the scripts. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you had to give a presentation in front of a camera where you had to overcome all the objections and you really had to know your shit. And at the same time, I'm studying for my finals. And when I finished my with Megan Hickey, I finished my presentation, my my recorded script training, and she said that was fantastic. And I said, great, I gotta leave. I gotta go take 2 finals. Went, took the 2 finals. It was probably the craziest 2 weeks of my life. And then and then I went back and told my manager, who didn't know at the time, that I needed Friday off because I had to go up to Penn State and graduate. And it was pretty. I mean, like, you know, we talked in the last thing with Mason. If you sometimes you got to be naive. You really do got to be naive, because if you knew how hard shit was going to be on the front end, you'd probably opt out. And I had no idea how hard it was going to be. In hindsight, I recognized how hard it was going to be. I realized how hard it was while I was going through it. But man, it set me up. That level of adversity and struggle set me up for years of success later, because, you know, it was tough, you know.
Yeah.
So then we end up at Yellow Book. Tell them about Yellow Book, Joe.
It was probably the other. I mean, everything sort of dovetailed into each other. Our telemarketing, selling coffee, just translated so well into selling anything, because when you're on the phone in the situation where you're basically calling somebody that has, you know, they're in the middle of dinner, they don't give a shit, they're not trying to, but it really tunes you into just being able to pick up on nuances and little cues and inflections in people's voice, and you do it in such a elevated situation where you only have like a small period of time. So getting the Yellow Book, they kind of I had that background, you know, or idea or skill set that I was developing, and then they just had this crazy training of basically anything you could think of. They're like, all right, well, so this is what happens on this sales call. And so it was really, we became, you know, a master class in sales, and ultimately the sales just became like how to really read and listen to people, which then just turned into the Kenny and Joe show, really, because it got fun because we were good at it. And, you know, the whole situation was, you get these 2 alpha males that are young kids that are out to prove something, and then they unleashed us on the great state of Delaware and a little bit of Elkton, Maryland, and we went into every single solitary business and
dressed to the nines.
Yeah, we could. I didn't have a pot to piss in, but I had super nice suits. And when we walked into those businesses, they thought that, you know, Gordon Gekko was rolling through, even though, you know, but it was amazing. And it really, like, being in and out of the small business and actually sitting down with them and listening to what they're going through, and, you know, taking the time to say, like, all right, this is more than just putting a cartoon in a book. Where's your business struggling? What can we do to help? Like, you know, obviously more leads are better, and getting you more business and increasing the bottom line is going to help. But, you know, sometimes you hear, well, dude, I can't take business because I can't hire people because all my staffs are drunks. Or, like, you know, my main foreman just got a DUI, and, like, all the stuff that, when you think of going through college and business school and stuff like that, and, you know, all the textbook stuff doesn't really hit home until you sit with somebody who's poured their heart and their money and their dream into this business, and all of the things that just come with it that can derail it. And you're sitting, and, you know, it's 8:00 at night, and you're on their sofa in some, you know, row home in Newark, Delaware, and they're pouring their heart out because they're like, I just need to make this work. I need money. And at the time, the Yellow Pages was the only ticket in town, really. I mean, you know, if you wanted people to call you for leads, people picked up the phone.
My favorite objection back then was, you know, the internet was just coming out, and it would be like, well, I just got a website. Yeah. Oh yeah, website. So if my pipes are leaking at 3:00 in the morning, I'm going to run downstairs and boot up my computer to find a plumber. No, I'm going to go to the Yellow Pages. I'm going to find my plumber. Boy, was that short-sighted.
You know what? I think about
AOL yeah, wait for dial-up.
Just make sure no one calls you when you're trying to do it, because you'll get kicked off with your phone line. But it was serendipitous for, like, my career, because this is right when the internet came out, and the whole Yellow Book was transitioning from print to online, and a lot of the whole thing was shifting. For hundreds of years people used the phone book, and now it was like, whoa, we have this other thing going on. And it was amazing to watch it just develop kind of right in front of me. And it was the core of it is lead generation for small business, and that doesn't change. It's pretty neat.
What did you two do together after Yellow Book?
Yellow.
Actually, so I got in the mortgage business, and Chris Howell, or no, it was Ed Michovic, I think, says to me, "You do realize that the mortgage industry is pretty volatile." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to give it a shot." Like inside of 2 years, the Yellow Book was out of business, and here we are in what seems to be a pretty volatile industry, honestly. But it is what it is. I'll tell you what's funny though. When we were at Yellow Book, we really did well. We sold. We were efficient. Instead of, these guys would go out on the street and would go door to door to door to door to all these businesses to try and get appointments, which was the model, and that's fine. But because we had that telephone background, instead of going to businesses, we would just park behind the Wawa on Route 1. We would make about 25 phone calls a piece. We'd land 3 or 4 appointments. We'd go out. We'd sell the appointments and then literally dick around for the rest of the day. Like we'd go bowling, we'd take like 3-hour lunches, and we would have all this extra time because we were working the phones instead of actually going door to door. So when they see our numbers, they actually invited us to what they call a SWAT team. Now, that's where they take these reps and they send them to a market that's struggling, right? Like, for instance, Pittsburgh, where the book wasn't going to hit its number and they needed help. They needed other reps.
They have deadlines, too, because they have
deadlines.
So it's,
Yeah, they got deadlines to print. If you don't hit the deadline, it is what it is. It's like a plane taking off with an empty seat. So they asked me and Joe to go out to Pittsburgh. Now, if you think we were alpha, ego maniacs to begin with, try telling us we need you to go to Pittsburgh. We're going to call you a SWAT team to go rescue this book. Like you could, honest to God, we were unstoppable. You know what I mean? At that point, we're like, okay, that sounds like a plan. So we go out there and we had a blast. We did. We sold the hell out of the book. Me, you, and Mike Rowe.
I think, not to toot my horn, but I believe, if memory serves me correctly, I sold, within the second day being there, I sold double what the entire office's quota was for the whole year. I did it in 2 days.
Was that Pittsburgh Paint and Glass?
No. So what happened, it was an attorney who bought the back cover.
Yeah.
And I called him. I called their office, and I got, the gatekeeper or whatever. And I forget the guy's name, but I was like, hey, is Mike there? And she's like, who is this? I'm like, this is the guy that's got a foursome ready to go. We need one more. If he's in, let me know. If not, I don't care, whatever. But he's going to be pissed if you don't put him through. And she's like, okay. So then I get the guy on the phone, and he's one of these big time personal injury lawyers that has every billboard and bench and all this. And I was like, hey man, I got the back cover of the phone book for sale. Somebody just dropped out. Do you want it? Which was sort of true. But he's like, yeah, come on over. So I just drove over, went up to this huge, the big cathedral buildings in Pittsburgh. He had the top floor. I go in this huge, huge conference room, and he's like, all right. He's like, where's the back cover? I'm like, it's actually the inside of the back cover, not the actual back cover. He's like, he said, you said the back cover. I'm like, this is the back cover. I'm like, if you want the actual, the outside of the back cover, this is the line you need to get in to get that. So if this guy drops off, you'll get it. And I think he took pity on me. He just kind of shook his head, and he's like, all right, how much? He wrote a check for the whole thing right there. He's like, here you go.
Which is rare.
Then he took, we're not talking, we're talking yellow page money. It was probably 80 grand or 90 grand, something like that. He just wrote a check. So then we're finishing up the paperwork and all this, and he takes me in his office. He's like, he's like, if you ever go to law school, I think you should. He's like, I never want to face you in court, man. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. I don't think that's going to happen, so we're good. But it was.
So the next year, the next year they take us to Cincinnati. We did well in Pittsburgh. Then they sent us to Cincinnati, right? And Cincinnati was crazy, probably even a little bit crazier than Pittsburgh. Going out, having fun. So the one night,
we knew what to expect too.
Yeah. So same thing. Walk in, we're like, all right, we're a SWAT team. Get out of our way. Like it was so bad. So Joe, so the one night we're driving home, we realized we don't have any money for the cab, right? So, and there was no Venmo, right? They didn't take credit cards in cabs then. So Joe says, "Yo, I'm gonna start a fight, and then but when we get close to home, we'll start this fight, and then he won't even want us in his cab, and he'll kick us out, and if we're close enough, we'll walk." I'm like, all right, that's in hindsight, that is a ridiculous idea, but I'm like, let's go, that'll work. So I'm in the front seat, Joe's in the back seat. We start chirping at each other, and then next thing you know, we're going at it. It's a full on WWE style fake fight, but we're trying to do everything we can to make it look real. And this guy's screaming at us, and he's like, "You gotta knock it off." Joe's got the seatbelt wrapped around my neck.
That was the move. Like, take your seatbelt.
I'm like, I got my feet up on the windshield.
I wrapped it, like what Godfather style. Get it around his neck.
So wait. So Joe takes a full swing at me and hits me.
That
is not accurate.
Yes, that's exactly true.
It was a love tap.
No. He clipped me in the eye, right? We get to the hotel. We roll out of the
cowering like a child, but go ahead.
No.
All right.
We get to the hotel. We roll out of the cab, and we are finishing out this scene. It's finishing the scene, and he pulls away. So it flat out worked. Like this guy wanted these maniacs out of his cab. He pulled away. So he did come back later. They were looking for us, but anyway, long story short, now I got a black eye. Right? So the next day we're in the office and people were asking what happened and I'm downplaying it, right? I'm like, I don't know. No big deal. Just
stole the cab.
I don't know. I was just avoiding it, right?
I got to the office before Kenny.
That might have been it.
I planted the seed that Kenny may have beat up a bunch of people the night before because he's got a really bad temper and things set him off. So you have to, and mind you, we had just gotten to this office, so nobody really knew us. They kind of heard about us or whatever. So
the Delco boys are in town.
Yeah. I knew Kenny would be coming in with a shiner, and people would be asking. So I figured I'd kind of cut it off at the pass and just start a rumor that Kenny's incredibly violent. So I didn't tell Kenny this either.
No, I had no idea that this rumor was going around the office, and I sensed that people were acting weird and getting out of my way and shit. but it turns out it was all because they were under the impression that I kicked some guy's ass the night before. It was totally false.
I mean, these stories are amazing, and I know there's a lot more. So I think what we should do is have a part 2 of this. But one thing I want to do is add in some of the hijinks that you guys have been kind of known for, and something that kind of relates back to the last guest you guys had, Mason. So we're going to play a recording of a prank call that you guys did to Mason. Nice.
You guys will love it. I thought it was great. I'm not going to give any away, no spoilers, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the BS here, and maybe we'll do it again. But yeah, I mean, hey, look, if you're going to do it, you got to have fun along the way, right?
Absolutely, and you guys sure did.
Cool. Well, Joe, I appreciate your time as always. Josh, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see everybody on the next episode of Selling the Dream.
Yes, sir.
Later, everybody.
See ya.